Thank you very much, Mr. President. I was counting last night after the wonderful meeting you offered us, how many years we have been together, fighting for the same causes. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, 31 years of friendship. President of the State of Israel, my friendship once again. My dear Simon, all my love. I come to your country in the last 20 years, I think practically every month, trying to be with you. It's a country I like, I feel a good friend of yours, and trying also to work in solving the problems in which all of us we are today. You asked me in the invitation to talk at this first intervention on how to establish or how to look at the trends which are shaping the world of today, trying to look into the future, not the long future, but at least, I would say, to tomorrow. I'd like to do that very briefly. I'd like to say a word about that topic. I'd like to say something about the region, if you allow me to. And if I have time and the moderator allows me to do it, I'd like to say a word about Israel and Europe. My dear friends, we are in a very complicated world, in a moment of change, profound change. Without any doubt, the most important tendency that we are seeing is a fantastic power shift as the first trend. A power shift that takes place among states, but a power shift that takes place also within the states. Among the states is very clear, a big transfer from what we call the West to Asia, to countries like China, India, some countries in Latin America, like Brazil. That is inexorable, and we have to reflect about that. But also shifting within the government, within the states, with power being transferred to the markets, being transferred for the government to the civil society, and even to particular groups and individuals through the mechanism that we have of high tech. And this, to my mind, is taking place in three layers. The first layer is the economic and financial side. This is well known. The crisis, the economic crisis that still we are in, is accelerating some of these trends that began maybe before the crisis. And to give you an idea, if we follow the latest reports of the Organization for Economic Development and Cooperation, the share of the world GDP will diminish by the year 2013, that means tomorrow, by 10 percentage points from here to there, from the so-called West to the Asian countries. That is a big figure. The second plane is what we may call the social fabric. Power shift is meaning the empowerment of groups and non-state actors. That, in many cases, is weakening the very nature of some of the states to limits that were unforeseen not long ago. Sometimes this transfer of power are through forces of good, very generous NGOs, which try to do a lot of good in the world, but others are not so much a source of good. Others is a source of risk and a source of danger, and we have many examples here in the region and outside the region. Let me go outside the region. The situation in Somalia, for instance, in the fight against piracy, is something that is really was inconceivable time back, not very long back, and today we have practically every country, every important country in the world engaged in trying to solve that problem that makes has tremendous consequences on lives, but also on the economy in the Indian Ocean. But also you look, for instance, in Africa to the conflict in the delta of the region river, in which the act of these non-actors, non-state actors, complicates the price of gas and gasoline products and power in that part of the world, and as a consequence in the world at large. Finally, from the point of view of what we may call hard power. From the hard power, that means from the military, not much has changed at this very moment in the last years, although some tendencies may be seen, but still we can say without making any mistake that the United States continues and will continue to be the most important military power in the foreseeable future. Now, all this has a cause on globalization. The globalization, without any doubt, is the mega trend, if I may say. It's responsible all in a way for all these changes. I think that this mega trend of globalization is a positive trend. No doubt that it has the dark sides, but the positive sides dominate by much the dark part. It allows, no doubt, the poor to escape poverty, many poor to escape poverty. It brings people together and enables them to live better and to live longer lives. And I would like to say that it's a product of peace. It's a product of stabilization. Without peace and without stabilization, globalization would not have been possible. And as a consequence of globalization, brings peace also. But we cannot forget that because we had stabilization, stability, and peace, the process of globalization can go that far. But my dear friend, globalization brings a dilemma we still have to solve. And the dilemma is the following. There's no doubt that the problems, the majority of the problems, the big problems, are global, and therefore the solution should be global also. But in fact, the resources and the legitimacy, that means the politics, remains at the national level. And this dilemma manifests itself in nearly all the debates on international issues. Whether it is the financial crisis, which is still we have not found the manner to big the dilemma about globalization and national responsibilities and resources, legitimacy. This is true for the fight against poverty, on the crisis of migration, and very, very evident in climate change. In essence, these are problems require collective action, but we have a question that we have not been able to answer. Who is responsible for what? Who defines the strategy? How do we avoid free-riding behavior, and how we mobilize broad coalitions, including public and private actors? Still, we don't have the response to that. It is important that we move in that direction. Globalization, as I said, is accelerating the power shift, and there is no doubt that in this process of acceleration, we need the tables of decision-making to be larger. As was said last night, the G8 has abandoned the possibility of being the leader of solving the global economic powers in the world. The G20 has taken his place. But I question also, and I think we should question, the G20 could take the responsibilities on all of the domains of the collective life. It's clearly they do, and they are doing a good job in the economic. But we have to see what at the end we have as a global G, if I may say, able to solve the other problems related, for instance, to security, which I'm not sure, I'm not completely sure that the format of G20 may be the only one. So we have to think about variable geometries among the Gs, open question, an open question that has to be resolved in a short period of time. Now, it is clear that if the countries that are emerging at the speed that are emerging the transfer that are receiving those countries in power, as I said, they will require to be part of the solution. And that all the maxims of nothing about us without us is something that resonates more and more today. Those meetings in which I have participated, in which 8 countries were taking decisions and writing papers, and outside the room were the 3 or the 4 most important populated countries in the world waiting to finish the statement and then joining at the dessert, I think it's over. They have to be at the table, and they have to be at the table from the very beginning. The world is in flux, there's no doubt about that, and is bringing about new challenges. Yesterday, today, and I will mention climate change, no doubt about that, and something related to climate change with the policy of scarcity. We are going to have a middle class that increases in the countries emerging, and therefore the tension over the resources is going to be more and more pressing. I was happy to hear yesterday how Prime Minister Netanyahu talked about how we can do things about energy that substitutes oil to liberate some of the pressure that will be on that. The President Simon Peres talking about water. I would like to join my voice to that, because I think we need to make a big effort collectively on those directions.